We start things off here with this week's matchup, Alabama, Texas A&M, Bryant-Denny Stadium, 2:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff from Tuscaloosa. CBS will have the call, and wow, week one was a good week, and I've mentioned that. Against Missouri, Alabama offensively, first half came out playing great football. Mac Jones did his thing. Defensively, you see what happens when Alabama has a healthy Dylan Moses. Players flying around the field, Christian Harris making big hits, Will Anderson, the freshman, did some great things. Defensive front played well. You saw when you have the veteran players out there, how exciting this group looks. Now, of course, there are still some things that need to be cleaned up, and those things will get cleaned up this week. But all in all, if you watched week one, it was a strong performance there by the Crimson Tide. This week is where the test starts to come in, because you take on a Texas A&M team head coached by Jimbo Fisher, who's in his third year. In his third year with the program, and Aggie Nation is a little bit impatient right now. And the reason why Aggie Nation is impatient is because for Texas A&M fans, they feel like because we donate $500 million into the program, $498 million to be exact, because we donate $500 million into the athletic facility, we feel like we should be on the same level as Alabama, Georgia, Auburn, Florida, LSU, the big boys when you discuss the SEC. That's how Aggie Nation feels like, and it was the reason why they went out there and they made the hire of Jimbo Fisher and paid him a whole bunch of money, because they felt like, okay, here's a guy that's a national championship coach, right? National championship coach. Here's a guy that had, a Heisman-winning quarterback in Jameis Winston at Florida State before Florida State went downhill. Here's a guy that can put offenses together, that has the recruiting power. Here's a guy that can put us in a situation, being Texas A&M, to compete for, SEC championships, to compete for recruiting titles, to compete for, putting us in a best spot where we can compete and take down Alabama every now and again. Here's a guy that can maybe put us in an opportunity to compete for the college football playoff. And thus far, it hasn't really been that way for Texas A&M. Hasn't been that way for them. So the Aggie fan base getting a little bit impatient, going, Jimbo, where is our time coming? Where is our moment coming? When are we going to get our piece of the gumbo here? When is it time for Aggie Nation to really do its thing? So it's facing Alabama this weekend at Bryant-Denny. And in this matchup, I am targeting two specific positional groups for the Crimson Tide that will be tested in this matchup. And the first group that will be tested will be Alabama's defensive front. Alabama's defensive front will be tested in this ball game just due to when you're playing a quarterback like Kellen Mond. And I know he's been in this system at Texas A&M for going on 4 to 5 years here. He's been playing ball for a long time, going back to his freshman year in 2017. And he's a good quarterback. He's athletic. He's mobile. He's got a talented arm. He's got a lot of good tools to the arsenal there. But the main thing with Mond is the question that we keep asking ourselves: at what point will he go from good to great in terms of quarterbacks? There is something that seems to be sort of holding him back. Is it where he has hit his plateau? Is it he has hit his peak and he's just going to be a good quarterback? Or do we put the blame more so on Jimbo Fisher here? So in facing Kellen Mond for this defensive front of Alabama, it's got to do two things here. Number one, it's got to collapse the pocket from the inside, right? Kellen Mond likes to step up in the pocket, follow through on his throws, and get the football out there. Now, of course, he will not have his favorite receiver, his roommate, Jamon Osborne, the best pure receiver for A&M, just due to he opted out. And then, of course, Kendrick Rogers, the 6'6" specimen, He is now with the Dallas Cowboys, but there's still talent there on the A&M roster offensively, and it's handled by Kellen Mond. So from the defensive front perspective, and we're looking at guys like Brian Ray, DJ Dale, Justin Boygby, Christian Barmore, should he play in this game, and I believe he will, and then guys like Dylan Moses, Christian Harris, Christopher Allen, Will Anderson. They've got to collapse the middle of the pocket. They got to pressure the middle of the pocket, not allow him being Kellen Mond, to step into his throws and make those throws down the field to his litany of talents here. But at the same time, when you look at Christopher Allen, Will Anderson, and your two defensive ends, LeBron Ray and Justin Boygby, or LeBron Ray, Christian Barmore, that group of four has to be able to also contain the outside, right? Because Kellen Mond likes to break containment of the pocket. We have seen upon Alabama facing Texas A&M the number of times it has, the two have faced off against each other. When Mond breaks contain of the pocket, he can do some things with his feet. He can do some things with his legs. He can also escape the pocket and whip that ball down the field. So for LeBron Ray, Justin Boygby, Christian Barmore, Will Anderson, and Christopher Allen, being able to also contain that outside and keep him within the pocket to where he can't go outside and be dangerous, but then once again that inside push coming from DJ Dale and the rest of the gang collapse that pocket, and Kellen Mond has nowhere to go to with the football. So that defensive front will be tested this week, having the discipline, having the gap assignment, playing situational football, playing assignment football, reading the keys there up front when you discuss, not allowing for Kellen Mond to have a big day against you. But along with that, I'm going to direct the secondary this week also. I'm targeting Alabama's secondary because against Missouri, Mizzou didn't have just a bunch of game breakers at wide receiver. Jalen Knox is good. Kiki Chisholm is 6'4". He's pretty good. Damon Hazelton, 6'3". He's pretty good. But there are some teams in college football, especially in the SEC, they specialize in recruiting a specific position. And at Texas A&M, it specializes in recruiting rangy, tall, physical, 6'3" and taller wide receivers. A&M has always tended to do this. And this year, not anything different. Now, once again, doesn't have Jamon Osborne, doesn't have Kendrick Rogers, but they've got a speedster and Anaya Smith, of whom A&M will use in the slot. A&M will probably have him going in motion. They'll probably put him at running back. The same way Alabama likes to use Jalen Waddle, Texas A&M will try to use Anaya Smith in the same way. So he's one of their main guys. And then behind him, you've got Caleb Chapman at 6'5". He's the physical receiver on the outside. Against Vanderbilt last week, caught 4 passes for 40 yards with a touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. Then they got a big tight end in Jalen Werdemeyer. Werdemeyer had a great freshman year, 4 touchdown receptions for him. He's a very, very athletic tight end. So A&M's got offensive pieces here. So for the Alabama secondary, this is the game where you're going to see Patrick Surtain, Josh Jobe, Malachi Moore, Jordan Battle, Daniel Wright, DeMarco Helms. This is the game where those guys are going to get tested a little bit. The ball is going to be thrown at them a little bit here. So this is the game where you got to see, Patrick Surtain man up in this game. Man up, body up, box out, create a turnover, create a big play here. Josh Jobe against Missouri, he played fantastic. No pass interference, no defensive holding, carrying that into this matchup, being able to body up on Texas A&M's weapons, be physical, not too physical, be passionate, not overly emotional, play your style of football, but play your technique at the same time. When I look at Malachi Moore, I kind of want to put a circle around Malachi Moore, the freshman, because I honestly feel like A&M will try to put Anaya Smith on him. I feel like A&M will try to line Anaya Smith in the slot and have him go one-on-one with Malachi Moore. They may do it early in the game. They may do it later in the game. But I just feel like at some point in the matchup, they will put Moore, the 4-star, on Anaya Smith, or Anaya Smith on Moore, if we're talking Texas A&M. So that's going to be an interesting matchup there to keep your eye on. And of course, your guys, Daniel Wright, Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms, doing their job on that back end in creating pass breakups, forcing some turnovers if you can get your hands on them, and more importantly, breaking down in space to make those tackles. Texas A&M loves to get yards after contact and yards after the catch. We saw a couple of times last week these issues did not go into being big plays for Missouri, but there were still a couple of moments where Alabama caught arm tackle a little bit. Daniel Wright caught arm tackle a little bit. A couple of other guys were trying to arm tackle. So this week, got to break down there and make those plays in space. But the defensive front for Alabama and the defensive secondary for Alabama, not much of a major test against Missouri's offense. It's going to be tested this week against A&M, especially with what Jimbo Fisher is trying to bring to the table and trying to convince the Aggie fan base that he is the guy in terms of being the head coach as he's in year 3 here at the program. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, getting you set and popping here on a Wednesday. Upon our return, we entertain your phone calls, your tweets, your chats, your questions, your ideas of Bama football right after this.
Every man deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.